mindset. A daily dose of practical wit and wisdom with a professional educator and trainer, Amazon best-selling author, United States Marine, television and radio host, Paul G. Markle. Each episode will focus on positive and productive ways to strengthen your mindset and help you improve your relationships, career goals, and overall well-being. Please welcome your host, Paul G. Markle.
Hello. Let's go ahead and continue on with the season of Christmas, and I feel like sharing, so I'm going to. That's the great thing about being the benevolent dictator of this show, is I get to do what I want when I want to do it. That's right. And I didn't get to this position overnight. It took a little while. Going back, thinking about Christmas memories, I've got a lot of very fond Christmas memories. And one of those, and this is one that my wife and I share with each other and we talk about, we have for 20-some plus years now, is when my wife and I were a young married couple. And we moved into an apartment, and this apartment was part of a large house. Many cities in America, there are large Victorian houses, big houses, 2-story houses. And what do? Someone will buy the house and they'll divide it up, upstairs, downstairs, and they'll divide it into apartments. And we were in one of those types of homes. It was a large house. It was probably, 40 years old at least when we moved into it, maybe older. So it had real high ceilings. We were on the first floor and we had high ceilings, probably at least 10-foot ceilings. And the first year that we were there, this is when we were a young married couple, our oldest son, our first son, Jarrad, was just a toddler at the time. He wasn't quite 3 years old. And that's a special time in a little kid's life. Because, when a child is 1 or 2, you can buy them Christmas presents and you can give them things. But the fact of the matter is, a really young child can't really appreciate it. They just as soon play with the wrapping paper and the bows as any kind of a toy. It's not until they get into that pre-kindergarten stage that they can appreciate the wonder of the shiny, presents and the lights and the colors and all that. And so Jarrad he wasn't quite 3 years old yet. He was almost 3 at Christmas time. And his mother and I, we went out and we decided we were going to get a Christmas tree, obviously. And we wanted to get a live one or a real one, a genuine Christmas tree. We went to a lot in the snow. It was snowing. And purchased a tree, purchased a big tree, a tall tree. Tied it to the top of the car because I did not have a pickup truck back then. Did like most people do, at Christmas. Tied it to the top of the car and drove it home. And we set that thing up and it was almost as tall as the ceiling. It filled up the living room. It was a giant, beautiful tree. And Nancy and I decorated it with all the lights and everything. And she started wrapping Christmas presents for Jarrad. Remember, this is the time we only had one child. So when you have one child, you dote on them and you spoil them. And she went out and she bought all kinds of things that, a 3-year-old would like. And she bought coloring books and she bought this and she bought that. And rather than take the crayons and the coloring book and wrap them all in one, or take all the coloring books and wrap them up, she wrapped every single individual coloring book. And she wrapped the crayons. And that kid had so many presents underneath the tree that when he woke up on Christmas morning, he came out into the living room, and I'll never forget this. I'll never forget him standing in the doorway. He had those footy pajamas. The fuzzy footy pajamas that you put your toddlers in because they're so cute and it keeps them all warm and snuggly. Well, he had yellow footy pajamas on. And he walked into the living room and he stopped and he stood, and the tree was all lit up, but it was filled, with presents underneath it. And he stared wide-eyed. And then we told him he could go ahead and open. So we started handing him presents. We handed it so many that he got bored with it and got tired of opening presents. He didn't even want to finish. He wanted to play with the stuff that he had. And I laughed, and I still tease my wife for wrapping every single individual coloring book and box of crayons and everything. And she wanted to make sure that he had enough presents to open. And he did. He had plenty of presents to open. And it was one of those memories that 25 years, or, well, Jarrad's not quite 30 yet. But all these years later, we still remember that Christmas in that apartment. We only spent maybe a year and a half in that apartment, but we remember that giant tree. I remember him in those yellow footy pajamas sitting at the foot of the Christmas tree, unwrapping every single coloring book and box of crayons and what have you. And I hope that you have memories like that. And if you're a young person, if you're a young, recently married person, if you have little kids, I hope that you have the opportunity to spend the time with them, to take the time to spend with them. And, it's tough. Let me tell you what, we're doing okay now. I mean, I have a car to drive and I have a home to live in and I have food to eat. So we're doing all right. But it's hard when you are a young married couple. It's difficult. If you are a young married couple right now and you're frustrated because it's tough, understand this. That's the way the world is. It is. And the reason that you're able to do it is because you're young. That's why people have babies and kids when they're young, because they have time and patience and energy. But I hope that you, during this season, are able to take some time, make some memories. And you don't have to do everything all at once. It doesn't have to be monumental. Sometimes it's just the simplest things. Sometimes it's just the simplest things that really matter. So I'm not going to belabor the point. I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that you appreciate it, and I hope that you're out there, wherever you happen to be, enjoying Christmas memories with your family. All right, folks, I am your host, Paul Markle, and I will talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for spending time with us today. To get show notes, submit a topic request, and for more from your host, Paul G. Markle, visit morningmindsetpodcast.com. That's morningmindsetpodcast.com. Please leave a review for this podcast on your favorite podcast player. We appreciate your time and effort, and we look forward to reading your honest feedback.